My name's Beth Toro. I'm CJP's Senior Director of Grants and Partnership Initiatives and the Director of the Miriam Fund. We're so excited you've joined us tonight for Everyday Leadership Engagement with Gratitude. We can't gather in person, but we hope to inspire community and intergenerational leadership this evening. It's wonderful that we have people from all over the North Shore, from throughout Massachusetts, and even across the United States joining tonight. Thank you to our volunteers who helped plan the event for their guidance. Patty McWeeny, Karen Bar-Orr, Jen Goldberg, Marion Blue, Marion Pollock, Ann Selby, Ruth Budelman, Marjorie Patkin, Amanda Clayman, and Joe Sheridan. Thank you also to my colleagues Flory Schwartz, Alex Gaston, and Jeff Remus for helping to execute the plan. This program is made possible by a generous grant from the Michael Steinberg Leadership Endowment Fund. We are thrilled to welcome some of Michael's family tonight, Josine Steinberg, Adam Steinberg, and Cheryl Kalis. We are so grateful that you're here with us and for this generous gift and the ability it provides to inspire leadership. Some logistics for tonight. Please turn on mute. We will have a presentation and followed by some breakout rooms. Following the breakout rooms, there will be time for group discussion. During the discussion, please put a note in the chat if you have a question or want a comment, and we'll call on you in order so that we can see everybody because we are on multiple screens this evening. We do have a full agenda, so I'm now thrilled to introduce CJP's President and CEO, Mark Baker, to share some thoughts.
Thanks so much, Beth. Thank you for your leadership. And I won't rehash all those thank yous, but thanks to everyone who helped make tonight happen, especially that powerhouse committee of volunteers and to the Steinberg family, of course. It's great to be here with all of you. I love the concept of intergenerational learning for so many reasons, but especially during COVID at a time when so many of us have been feeling disconnected, not only from one another across our community, but even from generations of our own family. You know, for me, there's nothing more powerful than coming together to learn together. And learning is obviously the time-honored way that we transmit the values that we care so deeply about as Jews and as human beings from one generation to another. And I am particularly proud that this is a North Shore anchored event. As a North Shore kid myself, any excuse to get back to the North Shore, even virtually, makes me incredibly proud. And if anyone was wondering whether Torah goes out from the North Shore, the fact that we have people from all over the country here tonight and all over the community, I think it's awesome. It's a great way to open the doors of an event that might have happened on the North Shore in person, and to take advantage of one of the silver linings of COVID, which is the barriers to entry have dropped, and we can be together with people from so many different places, even though it's virtual. First, I want to just say thank you. I want to say thanks to all of you, and really thank you to this entire community. It's almost a year since we entered this pandemic. And for me, one of the great privileges of this role and of working at CJP is getting a firsthand look at just the extraordinary ways that our community has stepped up and responded during an incredibly challenging time. CJP, you know, within weeks, had mobilized millions of emergency dollars from thousands of people across our community, and then got those dollars out to the places that need them most over the months preceding or as after that during this pandemic. And to watch the way that my colleagues have been listening and learning and staying in touch with our partners around this community, and making sure that individuals who are in need and organizations that need relief have the support they need, both the relationships and the dollars, has just been incredible to watch. And of course, the new ways that people are engaging and connecting, you know, a pandemic will not keep us apart. The kind of content we're seeing, the creative ways to build community, and really the taking advantage of this kind of virtual digital time to experiment and to innovate. We've seen huge increases in the number of people participating in Jewish life. And I know we're going to learn a ton from this time and build on it going forward. But all that is because of you. Because so many of you just keep asking the question, what can I do? How can I give? Where am I needed most? And I wanted to just share a couple of reflections on two of the words that are themes of tonight, and that is gratitude and leadership. Just that concept of gratitude, if I hear anything when I kind of walk around this community, even virtually, and talk to people day in and day out, it's a deep sense of gratitude. Even with all the suffering, so many of us are feeling blessed for what we do have. And what's interesting is that that sense of gratitude and blessing leads to a sense of humility, like a real sense of there but for the grace of God go I, and I feel part of something much larger than myself. And it's from that place of humility, I think, that many of us feel a sense of a call to service, a call to give, a call to step up, a call to reach out, a call to lead. And so there's this very powerful and I think deeply Jewish connection between gratitude, humility, and service. And it's a leadership that comes from a real sense of both my own kind of smallness in the face of a world that can act upon me in ways I would never expect, but then a real deep sense of blessing and opportunity to use my blessings to give back. And that sense of gratitude that leads to generosity and service has just pervaded this community over the last year. And I'm so grateful to all of you for exhibiting that. And then I just want to say a word about everyday leadership. I love the term, and I think it's a paradoxical term. And I'm sure that Nanette will talk about this tonight, and I'm so glad she's here. But often when you think about leadership, you don't think every day, right? Leadership is a kind of a big concept. And it made me think of the well-known teaching from Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers, with which many of you may be familiar. You know, who is rich? One who is happy with his lot. Who is wise? One who learns from every person. Who is honored? One who honors other people. And this is like so ingrained for many of us, but it's actually radical and revolutionary. The notion that what makes someone rich is actually their own deep sense of satisfaction with what they have. The notion that you are an honored person if you honor others flips concepts entirely on their head. It takes adjectives like I am honored, and it turns it into a verb and even a moral responsibility, and says honor isn't something I acquire, it's something I give to others. And being rich isn't a state of being toward which I aspire, it actually is a choice to be happy with my lot. And I think that this is at the heart of everyday leadership from my perspective. Leadership is not a noun, it's a verb. It is not a position we wait to attain or we look to others to bestow upon us. It's actually something that each of us can and must do day in and day out. And that is revolutionary. It is a democratization of a hierarchical concept that comes with huge opportunity and also amazing responsibility for each of us to lead and to build the kind of community and the kind of world in which we want to live. 3 ways. It takes a noun and turns it into a verb. It makes leadership into a choice that each of us can make every single day, not something that we wait to happen to us, but something that we choose to do. And lastly, it's something that any of us can do anytime, just looking for small opportunities and small ways to make this world a little bit better. So that's what I think of when I think of everyday leadership, and I'm sure you'll dive more deeply into it tonight. But thank you all for being a community of leaders and a community of gratitude and humility and generosity that emerges from that. And I think those are a really powerful way to capture the life and the legacy of Michael Steinberg. How appropriate that this endowment is a leadership endowment. From what I understand, because I didn't have the privilege of knowing him, it's the way he lived his life. And we're really proud to continue to honor him and his memory through leadership learning. So with that, have an amazing evening, and I'll turn it over to Josine.
Thank you, Mark. Josine, you're on mute.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Okay. Good evening, all. I'm delighted to be here with you for these sessions on everyday leadership. I've been asked to say a few words because this program is being sponsored by the Michael Steinberg Leadership Endowment Fund. My late husband, Mike, was a strong believer in and supporter of the local Jewish community of the North Shore and the State of Israel. He recognized the importance of developing and encouraging individuals to engage in the community and develop their potential as future leaders. Like many potential young leaders, Mike was inspired by a leader and mentor in our community. For Mike, it was Bob Lappin, who ignited the spark that started Mike in an early leadership role as chair of the first Y to I, Youth to Israel Committee, That was 50 years ago. I can't believe that. A few years later, in his role as Federation campaign chair, Mike realized that it was of prime importance to the strength and health of the then Federation and our Jewish community to develop and encourage new leaders to step forward. He, quote, worked the room, so to speak, to make that happen. Thank you very much for being here to carry on the work of leadership that Mike considered so crucial.
Thank you so much, Josine, and for you and your family being here again. I'm going to go right to Nanette. Nanette is president of Fridman Strategies, Inc., and has more than 25 years of experience with nonprofits as a professional lay leader, consultant, and coach. We're really excited to have you here tonight to talk to us about everyday leadership and engagement with gratitude. And with that, I'll let Nanette take away the rest of the program.
Thank you so much, Beth and Rabbi Baker and Josine and your family and everyone that worked on this. It is really a treat for me to see so many familiar faces this evening and to really engage in this topic with you. I'm going to share my screen, and when we want to have a discussion, I will take it down, but let me go ahead and share that with you. If you can see my screen, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you give me a thumbs up? All right, there we go. Perfect. So again, thank you for making this program possible. Everyday Leadership, a little bit about me, just so my mom feels good tonight. I know she'll be pleased that I share with you my credentials, but I'd love to know who's here. So if everyone could go to the chat, and if you could put your name, the town you're from, and the organization, school, or affiliation. What brought you here? Which organization are you with? If any, if you're affiliated with any, but your name and your town, if you could put that in the chat. I think it's always fun to see who's here. So I'll just give everyone a minute to do that in the chat. Your name, your town, and if you want, your organization, school, or affiliation. Great. Hi, Debbie from Newburyport, Eric, Ben Weiss from Peabody, NCJCC. Hi, Amy and Mark. Preston, Lisa Seidel from Beverly, excellent. Hi, Hannah. Great, Miriam, Julia, Marblehead, Swampscott, North End. Hi, Susan. We have Lynn in the house, Peabody, Gloucester. Hi, Renee. Oh, hi, Sam. Melrose in the house, Danvers. Amazing. Ipswich, excellent. Hi, Renee, Metro West, Epstein Hillel, CJP, wonderful. Maimonides, GAN, excellent. Wow, nice broad representation. So fun. Eric is the president of Temple Ahavat Achim in Gloucester. Great to see such a broad list of leaders and participants. So keep putting your names and your town and your organization in. People love to see it, but I'm gonna press on with a question. Mark teed us up so nicely, but I want to know from you, what do you think makes someone a leader? We're going to use the chat function because there are a lot of us on, but in the chat, I'd love for you to type in, what do you think makes someone a leader? What does that mean? What do you think? What makes someone a leader? Love for you to put in the chat, what does it mean to be a leader? Jackson, when you lead, a good listener, confidence, creative ideas, leading by example, inspiring and resilient, ability to connect, motivate, and amplify, authenticity, enabling others, ability to inspire, Talia, help others, Mark, compassion, authenticity, Rachel Wise, the ability to unite to achieve a common task. Amy Foreman, a good listener, able to lift others up. Amy and Mark, listener, inspirational, bringing out the best in others. Thanks, Ruth. Lisa, showing progress and helping solve problems. Ben, a willingness to work alongside your team. Jen Goldberg, hi, organized. Judith Sidney, someone who's willing to convene people and build bridges. Jen Goldberg, invested. Sandy, mentor, excellent. Those are all great. And you can see wide range here. Patty, empowering people. excellent, all things that make someone a leader. Eric, helping people reach their full potential. What a great list. Let's definitely save this chat. And if you notice what leadership is not, and when we think about this, leadership is not always doing something big or flashy. It's not based on title or seniority. It's not doing work for other people or being tyrannical or bossing people around. It's not being all knowing or always right. In fact, you talked about inspiring other people and working together as a team. It's not about having a high level of formal education. It's not prescribed attributes, and leadership isn't management. You can lead from any seat. And this is really important when we think about the notion of everyday leadership. You don't need a title. You don't need a formal level of education or success. You don't need something big or flashy. And that's really key. When we think about the characteristics of leadership, many which you named: strong communication, passion and commitment, positivity, confidence, emotional intelligence, leveraging skills of a group, innovation, collaboration. These are many of the things which you mentioned, but these are all things that many of us possess. And you can bring your own special, unique characteristics of leadership. As someone said before, the secret of leadership is authenticity, being yourself, bringing yourself and your own characteristics to the task, to the challenge. So one thing that's very important to think about with leadership is that we judge ourselves by our intentions, and other people judge us by our actions. We have to act like leaders. And so I want to ask you to go back to our chat. You have such good answers. And can you tell me, what are some visible behaviors of leaders? Not characteristics, not what is it, but what are visible behaviors of leaders? What do leaders do? Let's see what people come up with. I love, this is such a great group, really super engaged. Transparency, saying what's going well and what's not, showing up, taking action, good communicator, eye contact, I love it, Preston. Confidence, letting other people shine, absolutely, articulate, greeting those they work with every day, awesome, Hannah. Sharon, supportive. Talia Selby, confidence, I love it. Sandy, making decisions with the team. Joanna, listen and incorporate other ideas. Welcoming people, practicing what they preach. I love that, Jen. Listening, all caps, Jude, I love it. Eric, showing appreciation. Ruth, supportive. Double Ruth, taking credit for success and failure. Michaela, confidence in communication. Mark, working together. Lisa Seidel, encouraging others, listening, being present, being an example. Sam, doing, not just delegating, but doing, willing to challenge lay leadership. Thanks, Marty. Adam, thanking, definitely. Let me see, you have so many good ones. I'm losing myself here. Understanding, appreciating the challenges people face. Being an example. Willing to give others credit, absolutely. Showing respect. These are amazing. These are all actions of leaders. And the actions really speak loudly as to whether or not you're a leader or not. So some other action leaderships, just to round out your list: connecting, being impeccable to your word, mentoring others, speaking up, engaging others, coming with solutions, volunteering, as you said, sharing credit, talking about the we, organizing, and doing your best. Great list that you came up with. Thank you. The good news is that you're already leading, and you might be leading within your family. How many people are leading within their family? Let's see a show of hands. Who here is leading within their family? You're leading within your family. You're leading within a social group. Raise your hand when you hear places that you're leading. You're leading within your school. You're leading within your work. You're leading within a professional association, or an alumni association, or your synagogue. If you're leading within a synagogue or a nonprofit, raise your hand. I know many of you on here are. I see you. Yes, I see you raising your hand. Within your neighborhood, especially during COVID, I've seen many people leading in their neighborhood as you're helping people, and in your community or your town or other places. So you are leading already, many of us in multiple places on this list. What I want to show you now is really, I think, quite remarkable. A TED Talk that was voted one of the 15 most inspirational TED Talks of all time by a man named Drew Dudley, who's an author of a book called Day One, A Practical Guide to Leadership That Matters. He had run leadership programs at U Toronto, and this is the TED Talk that's been watched millions of times that made him famous. We're going to watch it now. It's 6 minutes long, and then you're going to go into breakout questions and think about what you take away from this TED Talk. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to put on this TED Talk for you now. And I'm going to ask Alex or Jeff to show you the TED Talk. So enjoy.
I want to start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, "On my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, 'Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what.'" And she says, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said, everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker. I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment. And I've searched my memory banks because that is funny and I should remember doing it. And I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, "You've been an incredibly important person in my life," was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, "Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us." And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today.
Terrific. Well, we're going to have a discussion now about your lollipop moments. So you're going to be sent to breakout rooms. You're going to have about 12 minutes. And I want you to talk about what you take away from this TED Talk. Have you experienced lollipop moments? Talk about them. Did you express your gratitude to the person that gave that lollipop moment to you? And have you been responsible for giving other people lollipop moments? Can you think of times when you've been an everyday leader? So I hope you have a great discussion in your breakout rooms. You'll be automatically given a warning and then brought back, and then we'll report out if you have things to share, and we'll wrap up. So have a great discussion about everyday leadership and lollipop moments. How are your conversations? If people have thoughts or things that came out in their discussions or questions that they want to raise, it's hard for us to see all of you, but if you can put your name in the chat, we'll unmute you, or we'll ask you to unmute. What did you talk about in your breakouts? What sticks out for you? Anything you want to share or questions? We'd love to kind of hear from people. So just put your name in the chat, and that way we don't have to depend on our eyes to see you, to unmute. But I hope you all had as rich conversation as I did in my Yay breakout room number 6. Anyone have thoughts that they want to share? Jen Goldberg, please unmute and share with us.
My family's bumping around in here, so forgive if there's background noise. Hi, everyone. Something that I took away from my conversation that I wanted to share was some of us could quickly think of a moment that we had received the lollipop, and some of us were talking about being sure that we hoped we had the moment that we had given the lollipop, but not sure. And I think as a group, or something I took away, and I think the group took away, is that we all want to be intentional about giving that feedback to people who provide that service for us, because it will empower them to continue leading if they have that reinforcement and that sort of bolster.
Great. That's such an important point. Thank you. Anyone else have anything they took away, or questions or thoughts you want to share? Hannah Solomon.
Hi, we talked about in our group, I brought up something that I use at work, which is Ways I'm Good. It's a folder I keep in my email every time I get an email from, whether it be a client or management kind of giving me a compliment of sorts, I keep those in a folder. I'm in the events industry, which is very stressful. So I go through that folder on my most stressful days, and it totally turns my day around. And in turn, that's kind of made me a little bit more complimentary in my emails to others. I'm a big snail mail person. I have my box here of my cards always at my desk that I like to send out. So I think it's kind of taught me how to give other people lollipop moments.
I love that. 2 good takeaways. Thank you, Hannah. News you can use here. Make a folder and send snail mail. Talia Selby, unmute yourself. I'd love to hear from you.
So I was in Jen Goldberg's group, and she made a really good point about how, I mean, I think she was saying this before, how important it is to like acknowledge when these things happen and acknowledge like leadership and everything. And I just agree with that so much, because I was trying to think of a time when I had like a popcorn moment, or I had some like saw someone in like leadership, and I found it so hard because usually I don't really acknowledge these people or like thank these people. And I think it's so important to do that, and I'm going to do that from now on.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. That is a great point to end on. Thank you, Talia. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, I want to just be mindful of your time tonight, and I could talk about this forever. I think lollipop moments are amazing, but I want to make sure that I wrap us up. I want to tell you that I love, it's so funny that Mark talked about Bouquet of Vote, because I love this quote: the world stands on 3 things: Torah, service, and acts of loving kindness. I believe that we can encourage and have more lollipop moments in the Jewish community and beyond, and we can express more gratitude for them. So I will hope each of us will ask ourselves tonight, how do you see yourself using your everyday leadership now and in the future? And my final thoughts on this, although I could have let Talia end it because that was great, is to be everyday leaders in your personal life, in your workplace or schools, and in your communities as you positively influence others, engage people, and work to repair the world. Give others lollipop moments. Acknowledge and thank those who give you lollipop moments. And think about how you want to use your leadership to make the North Shore, the greater North Shore, and our world better. Lead every day. And I really just want to thank you for spending time tonight. I really loved this conversation. I feel inspired, and I hope that you're taking something away as well. And I want to just turn this back over to Beth, but thank you so much for letting me be part of this wonderful evening. Thank you.
Hi again, everybody. Nanette, thank you so much for this evening, and thanks for everybody, the participation in the breakout rooms. I know we had a great conversation, and one thing that came out of it was one of our participants keeps a list of 5 or 6 people who have impacted that person throughout the year and makes it a point to thank them. And then another said the importance of like promptly thanking and promptly recognizing, so you don't forget that create those lollipops for you. So thank you all for participating tonight. I hope you did enjoy the evening and your own breakout groups. We hope that you should have received your gift bag in the mail, and if you haven't, some people who registered a little bit after sort of mid-February, they're on their way. They're all in the mail at this point, so you should get them this week. And we hope that you'll carry tonight with you, and in between now and our March 18th gathering, that you'll decorate the stars of gratitude that you received in the mail and give or mail them to individuals who you'd like to recognize for any reason. This might be somebody that's helped you in a defining moment, someone you think could use a small token of encouragement or appreciation, or who you'd just like to connect with and say hello. As part of our second session, we hope you might share your story and the impact or lessons you learned from that experience. On March 18th, we'll also pivot a bit, and we'll start applying the leadership concepts to community volunteer opportunities, which focus on food insecurity. My colleagues from CJP, Lori Kagan and Madeline Wenzel, will provide an overview on how we're addressing increased community needs through our anti-poverty program initiative. And we will also hear from my Brothers Table Executive Director, Diane Puzia Hills, and JFNCS Director of Family Table, Bernice Bahar, about their work and volunteer opportunities with those organizations. So thanks again for coming this evening. We're so glad you were here, and we look forward to the conversation on March 18th. Thanks again.